Alrighty, how was everybody's weekend? Good. We just kind of had a quiet one at the house. My wife's doing better. She's almost done healing up from her surgery. Still gonna be a couple of days though. But yeah, been a slow weekend. A couple of things to remind you. Remember, due this week. Percent Lab 3 is due tomorrow. It should be a pretty quick one. Most of you probably got it done before you left here last week. It's really not that bad. So just make sure you get that in so you can get the credit. Opening this week, opening today, are the Percent Test and Finance Lab 1. I would do the Percent Test first, obviously. I would not do it right now while we're about to go through Finance Lab 1 for a little bit, just because, I don't want to have to go over it again on Wednesday just because you missed it today. The finance section is pretty short. What the finance section does is it helps us meet our technology requirement. In the catalog in 143, I forget exactly what the phrasing is, but it says something to the effect of using technology to draw conclusions or solve problems, or I don't know. You can look it up. I forget what it is exactly. But in other words, I just want to know, can we use technology to help us, figure something out in the real world? So that's what this one does. It helps us use tools that are both provided to us and ones that we may. So, if you want to make a note, Finance Lab 1 deals with buying a house, and then Finance Lab 2 deals with buying a car. And we'll do Finance Lab 2 next week. Coming up here pretty soon, I do want to point out, just real quick, this is primarily for the in-person sections that I have as well. But if we look on Tri-County's website at where it said academics and then go to academic calendar. Okay, so right here, October 11th through the 13th is fall break. That is a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. What that means for the in person 143s, okay, so October 9th, class. October 11th, no class, with an asterisk. And this is primarily for the AHS section. I'm not sure if I'm going out there yet or not. I've got to double check. So this is just for them when they go back to watch the video. But yeah, so on Monday, October 9th, plan on being here. On October 11th, don't. All right. Now, we've talked about it a lot as of late, now that we've got some grades recorded. But what else is going on during fall break for Math 143? Redos. All right. So during that week, that is when you send me a message that says, hey, I would like to redo this assignment. Now, you need to tell me specifically which part. So in your message, if you send me a message that says, I would like to do Percent Lab, what do you think I'm going to reply back to you with? Exactly, which part? So to avoid that uncomfortable situation, send me a message that says, I would like to do the work entry for Percent Lab 1, or I would like to redo the answer entry for Conversions Lab 2. Be specific. Okay? Online folks, be specific. because that way I can find it quickly and you'll have more time to get it done. As far as which assignments will be available for a redo, I haven't yet decided where the cutoff is going to be. It's going to be somewhere right in here. I don't know if it's going to be the Finance Lab 2 or the Finance Test. So it's going to be the cutoff for redos. Or let's see, options 4 cutoff for redos. It's going to be one of those two. I'll let you know definitively when we get closer to that week. Scheduling, not my strong suit. But what that means is that wherever I say the cutoff is, and I'll have an announcement for that, for where the cutoff is, that's it. That's the cutoff. So after fall break, if I say that the cutoff is Finance Lab 2, when we come back from fall break, I better not be getting any messages wanting to redo anything before that. Online folks, okay? Because the answer is going to be no. The redo week that's coming up is going to be for everything from Conversions Lab 1 to wherever I say the cutoff is. And then after the fall break, none of that can be redone. Okay? I told you at the beginning of the year, I'm not going to open up anything in conversions in November. Okay? You have 2 chances this semester to get redos done, and this is so I don't have just a constant stream. And even saying that, I still have folks in the online sections that are saying, hey, I was talking to the drapes, okay? We have 2 weeks for redos, no more, no less. And I'm not opening up before then. So stop asking. All right, ready for Finance Lab 1. The percent test, you're going to do that on your own time, okay? I know some folks have different accommodations for testing, like separate setting and whatnot. So just making it online takes care of that. So just do it before the due date. Okay. All right. Finance Lab 1, skills practice. So first off, at the top, I made a video explaining how to use the financial calculator spreadsheet. We're going to go over it again today, but this is, just like it might be 5 minutes thereabouts. So it's just real quick, just showing you how it works, because back in the spring, I had a lot of folks send me a message that said, I don't know how to use this. So there it is. Tells you how to use it. Basically, when you pull this up, and we're going to do that here in just a minute, do you see how some of the values are in red and some of them are not? The ones that are in red are the ones that you can input values into. Those are the only ones that you can change. Because this is a basically a big formula table, and the red is where you can change the numbers. Okay. Now, that being said, there are about 6 formulas on here. We're going to use 2. And I'll point out which 2 those are. All right. First, let's look at the Finance Lab notes. So if you want to go ahead and pull that up, I forgot to put this on forced download. Sorry. I can only remember so much. Anyway. All right, so let's get this to a good size here. Oh, for Pete's sake. Just go away. I'm only going to need it for a few minutes. Okay, so Finance Lab. If you're still using the textbook to kind of help you out, give you a little bit extra help, this is going to be section 4D in the textbook file. That's on the actual textbook pages. It's 236 and 237. As far as the PDF file, it'll be a little bit past that because they've got a bunch of stuff at the front. Okay, so in the finance section, There's only 2 labs and 1 test, all right? The labs, like I said, they're going to be quick. They do have a work entry, but you're going to primarily be using the financial calculator spreadsheet I just showed you and some other websites to help you with this, because this helps us, meet that technology requirement. Finance Lab 1 deals with finding your monthly payment for a loan and how much interest you pay on that loan, and we'll walk through that here in a second. And then Finance Lab 2 primarily deals with loan payoff, because you're trying, in that instance, you're trying to trade your car. All right, and we'll look at that next week. So that's good news. Bad news is that the actual formulas for these, if we did not have the financial calculators, looked like this. Yeah, they're pretty bad. All right. Now, that's not to say that it doesn't have its use. Now, I'm not going to make you do all this by hand. We just got out of a section where you're being beaten over the head with formulas. Okay. You're still not really done with that section because the test just opened for it today. But you get the point. Okay. We want to use technology for this. If you go to a bank to get a loan, they use technology for this. They don't do all this stuff by hand. Okay. So that's why we're going to use some tools. But the formula is the payment is equal to your principal times your annual percentage rate divided by the number of payments per year. Then you divide all that by 1 minus 1 plus your annual percentage rate divided by the number of payments per year, raised to the power of the negative 1 times the number of payments times the number of the year. Yeah. Now here's the good news. This formula part, don't worry about copying that down. That's already all put into that spreadsheet for you. Okay. The parts that you do want to use, though, are the terminologies. Okay. PMT, the abbreviation for payment, and that is the abbreviation for your regular payment or your monthly payment. All right. So if you want to call it your monthly payment, go right ahead. Okay. Regular or monthly payment, both works. P is principal. Principal is your borrowed amount. Okay. How many of you in here have a house or car payment currently? Okay. When you went to take out the loan for your car payment, the price of the car, that was your principal. That was how much you were borrowing to pay off. Okay. So like if you bought a used car for $9,000, that's your principal, because you're going to pay off $9,000, right, to the person that you bought the car from. But the way that lenders work is that they don't just give you this money, do they? They don't say, oh, okay, here's your $9,000. Just pay it back in little installments every month. They don't do that, do they? Because they're not going to make any money off of you doing it that way. Where they make their money off of you is right here. Your APR, your annual percentage rate. Okay? So what the lender says is, okay, we'll let you borrow that $9,000, but you're going to pay us back so much percent of that in interest. Right? In the number of payments per year. In most instances, how many payments on something are you going to make per year? 12. Yeah, most of the time, this is usually 12. And I will say, for our purposes, it is going to be 12. The previous version of this lab, when Mr. Swanson had it, there was a question involving what kind of change do you have to make this if you wanted to make 13 payments per year. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But I'm not going to make you guys do that. Okay, and then Y is the loan term in years. Okay, and the reason why I put in years is twofold. One, because the variable is Y, years. But also because some textbook problems would try to double check and make sure that you're paying attention. and give you the length of the loan in months. And then you'd have to convert it as if you didn't have enough to do, right? So all of our loan terms will be in years, so don't worry about that, okay? So everybody clear on the different parts of the loan payment formula? Now the loan payoff formula isn't much better. Loan payment formula, what it does is it finds your monthly payment for you. What the loan payoff formula did is it was an adjusted form of the loan payment formula in that it told you how many payments or how long it was going to take you to pay off this loan or how much you still owed on it. I mean, you can see all the pieces there. It's the same terms and things, but we've got all of this in Mr. Swanson's old financial calculator spreadsheet that we're going to use, and I'll show you how to use it here in a bit. When we get to Finance Lab 2, we're going to, by then it's going to be assumed that we're pretty good at using the financial calculator. When we get to Financial Lab 2, though, we're going to start looking at how other websites do these things. And just giving you a heads up, okay? First things first, these sites might get faster than the financial calculator. So you know how in the conversions lab, you would get a different answer based off of, you know, if I had to use the formulas in the question or the table from the book or the table I gave you. That was by design, guys, is to show you that, you know, everybody converts a little bit differently. All right. Could also explain why there's always so many explosions in chemistry. Off by just a little bit, you're either going to get a fizzle or a pop. Right? Now, so just be aware of that. On Finance Lab 1, there are no multiple choice selections. I'll show you what it is here in a little bit. The second thing to be aware of, since there aren't as many notes this time, you definitely need to make sure that you're watching the videos if you miss anything. Okay? Make sure that you watch the video on how to use the financial calculator spreadsheet. And then, you know, I've still got the videos I recorded from March in here. So make sure that you check those out if need be. Okay? All right. So we're going to go through a couple of examples. Okay? The first thing I want you to do, for the love of Pete. Okay. See right here where it says financial calculator? Go ahead and click on that. Since it's a Excel doc, it's going to make you download it up the top. And the one thing that you definitely want to make sure that you do once it opens is you want to go up here to the top and click on this. Enable editing. If you don't, it's not going to do diddly crap for you. In Moodle, every time it opens up something in Microsoft, it always opens it up in what's called protected view, just to be like, hey, did you open this? Like, yeah, I opened it, so I want to work in it. So just make sure that you click on that, because if you don't, it will not work online, folks. All right, so now I mentioned that best that I can remember, we are really only going to use 2 of these blocks for this, okay? So the first one that we're going to use is over here, loan payment. All right, so that's the one that you're going to use primarily for Finance Lab 1. And then the second one is, oh, go away. Lord have mercy. Oh, about to start cussing. Is loan payoff. Loan payoff we will use in Finance Lab 2. Okay? So Finance Lab 1, loan payment. Finance Lab 2, loan payoff. So in other words, today we will not be using loan payoff. That'll be next week. Or Wednesday if we get a little bit ahead. We'll see. All right. So, that being said, we're going to focus on the loan payment part. Okay? All right. So, I'm going to set up a situation for you on the whiteboard over here. And we're going to figure out what's going to happen each time. All right, so we'll call this example 1. Okay? Let's say that you're going to buy a house for $155,000 at 6.5% interest for 30 years. So let's go ahead and get this on the board. So, example 1, our principal is $155,000. Okay. The interest, or to match what we've got in the notes, let's call it APR. The APR is 6.5%, and the years, or some places call it the term, like the term of the loan. All right. The years, or the term, on this first example, we're going to say 30 years. Okay? So, on each question that you have, excuse me, a voice crack there for a little bit. Got to hear 7th grade Mr. English for a second. So, half of y'all got that. Half of y'all like, what do you mean by that? Lost my train of thought because my voice cracked. Now I'm all discombobulated. Oh, the lab has 2 questions. 1, you got to find the monthly payment. 2, you got to figure out how much interest you're going to pay over the course of that loan. And I'll show you where to find the interest formula here in just a second. But first, work with this spreadsheet. So, we've got our 3 pieces. We've got our principal of $155,000. We've got an APR of 6.5, and we've got years of 30. One of these is in the wrong form. Which one is it? Percent. Right. If you're going to use this, do not put 6.5 in place of that rate box. Because of what that's going to read that as is 650%. And, ooh, that's going to be a bad, bad payment. All right. So, type in the pieces we got on the board. So, this is $155,000. The rate is 0.065. And the time is 30. Then hit enter. Okay. And you can see right here, have the turned on like a moron. Right here is where it spits out your payment. Okay? Now, if you're having trouble seeing this, pull it up on your screen and just kind of follow along. I mean, well, I could zoom this in a little bit. Maybe I should for some of the online folks. I'll be nice and I'll zoom it in. How's that? Like a trip to the eye doctor's office. Better now or better now? A or B? 1 or 2? Now C. Yeah. C or D? A or B? All right. Anybody see a little bit better now? Okay. What you're not going to mess with on any of these for either lab, what you're not going to mess with, you're not going to mess with this, you're not going to mess with this. Okay? Don't worry about that. The compounds per year, that's just your monthly payment. The only time that you would mess with that is if you are wanting to make an extra payment per year. And even still, we don't have any of that, so don't worry about it. Okay, so we found the first part. So part A, we found the payment. And it is equal to $979.71. God dang, that lid was really on there. Jeez Louise. All right, it's been one of them days. Okay, there's your payment. So there's the first part. The second part that it wants you to find is the total interest paid. Okay. Now, like I said, there is a formula for this. All right. It was not in the notes. It is in the assignment itself, and I'll show you where. Okay. So go back to the Moodle page. Go up here where it says Finance Lab 1 student copy. Go ahead and click on that. It's a Word doc. All right. Whew. Okay. So if you look, and when you pull this up, it's just going to be like one long page in portrait. But it over here on the left, it tells you everything. Assume you borrow $100,000, you're going to be doing it in 15, 20, 25, and 30-year increments, and interest rate increments of 4, 5, 6, and 7%. So basically, you've got 16 payments to find. You've got 16 interests to find. Okay. Now the interest formula is right there. Okay. That's your interest formula, your total interest formula. Okay, so what it is, I did not leave myself anywhere close to enough room. I knew that was going to happen. Okay, let's back it up a little bit here. Okay, so total interest. That is the payment times the payments per year. Oops, cut that off too soon. Payments per year times the number of years. And then you subtract the principal. Still ran out of room, sorry. I would look at the copy on the screen. It's a little bit neater. Yeah, so it's not a complicated formula. You're really just kind of taking everything that you found and used and putting it together in an order of operations formula. Okay, so knowing that, if we go back to the spreadsheet, we know a couple of things. One, the first thing that we're looking for so our payment is what? Right, $979.71 times how many payments are we making per year? 12. Oops, I had 13 on the brain because I was going to tell y'all something about that here in a minute. Sorry. So 12 payments per year, and then how many years? 30. Okay. Minus, what's our principal? $155,000. Okay, this is a good time to ask who needs a shiny, fantastic, like new calculator. All right, so you got number 2. Just remind me, anybody else need one? Pass that to Jackie. Number 3. Anybody else need a calculator? Everybody good? Okay. So Alex got 2, Jackie got 3. Okay. All right. Now, so like I said, and like I've been working with my daughter last couple of weeks, order of operations. Take care of all your multiplying first. Get this total. Then you're going to subtract the principal from it. So not jumping the gun, what is all 3 of those? multiplied together. $979.71 times 12 times 30. All right. Did anybody else get, you said $352,695.60? All right, yeah. So we've got 352, $695.60, and then that's going to get 155,000 subtracted from it. And then that will tell you two things once you do that. Should have wrote this in blue. Dadgummit. Consistency. So what's the difference there? Difference, by the way, is the answer to a subtraction problem. Okay, so the interest is $197,695.60. That is a lot of interest. So given this particular loan, you've paid more in interest than you did for the house. Unfortunately, this is very common. And I'll tell you why. Look at your payment. That is low. It is a low monthly payment that's not going to eat too far into your monthly income, right? So that's not bad monthly. But by the time that you get your house paid off, you've bought another house, basically, for the lender. Yeah, I mean, if you're planning to sell it, yeah. So let's look at some other things that would affect this to, affect the payment and the interest. Oh, I just hit the microphone. I hope it's still working. All right, so I'm going to make a change real quick, and then we'll call this number 2. Okay, so for example number 2, what if we decided to pay it off in 20 years? All right. Now, oh, I didn't mean to erase that. Crap. Oh, well, I'm going to leave that part there. Okay. So, you can do 20-year loans. I know most places try to push 30-year loans for the interest reasons, obviously. But, maybe you can find a lender that's like, hey, we'll let you do it in 20, But let's figure out what happens there. So all we're going to do on our financial calculator is right here where it says 30. We're just going to type in 20 and hit enter. And now we've got our new payment. Okay? So, for part A, what is our monthly payment? Our monthly payment is now $1,155.64 per month. Okay? So let's see now how that affected the interest. Okay? So, put that 12 back in there because that ain't going to hurt none. All right. So our monthly payment now is $1,155.64. The 12 will stay, but instead of 30 years, this time we're doing 20 years. So now multiply those three numbers. 1155.64 times 12 times 20. Make sure my sound's still working. It's working a little bit. A little bit closer. There we go. Yeah, last week I did that whole video with the test prep. And about halfway through the video, I don't know what happened. I don't know if I brushed up against the microphone thing or what, but the sound just went dead. So I'm trying to stay on the camera in case anybody happens to be able to read lips. I can't do that. But. All right, so what did we get for 1155.64 times 12 times 20? $277, $353.60. Okay. So everybody else get that too? Good. Now subtract your principal and see what your interest is. What is 277, 353, and 60 cents minus 155,000? So 122,000, 353, and 60 cents. Okay, so that's better. So what happened to our payment and our interest when we decided to pay the loan off in 20 years as opposed to 30 years? Right. Payment went up, interest went down. In other words, you paid it off sooner, so the amount that you had to pay the lender got less. All right, so that's how the interest works, the compounding interest. It adds up over time. So when you cut the time down, the interest comes down, even if your payment went up, right? On the last problem, this was like 197,000-ish, right? So we knocked it down by like 75 grand just by paying it off 10 years quicker. It's not bad, but drawback, you know, that's still not that bad monthly. So, you know, you just got to make, you know, you got to know where your money's at. You got to know what you can do. I'm going to make one more change, one more example, and we're going to call this example 3. Everybody get this? That needed it? Okay. So let me just try to erase the red parts here. Ready? I need to clean this board. Marker dust everywhere. All right, so example 3. We're going to go back to 30 years for the loan, but we are now going to change our interest from 6.5 to 4.5. So let's see what happens for a 30-year loan at 4.5%. All right. So, oops, go back here. All right. Sorry. So, back to 30 years. So, click on your years. Put your 30 in. All right. So, you know, now just doing that, we're back to our 979.71. But on the rate, make sure that you put in 0.045, not 4.5. It's not 450%. It's 4.5%. So 0.045. What happened here? Why did it shift? That's where sometimes this thing has a mind of its own. Okay, so for the first question, what is your monthly payment? Right, so our monthly payment, 4.5% at 30 years is $785.36. Okay? Now, using our total interest paid formula, we're going to put this 785.36 here. 12 will stay. This becomes 30 again. So for the first set of parentheses, again, order of operations, first set of parentheses, do 785.36 times 12 times 30, and tell me what that total is.
282,729.60.
All right, so 282, 729.60. Okay, good. Now that we've got that number, which, by the way, this is a good time to point out, does anybody know what this number is? Like what it represents? By the time that the loan is done, that's how much you've paid. Because look where it comes from, right? Your monthly payment times the payments per year times the years. So that's how much you have paid by the time the loan is done, if this doesn't change. Because what I didn't mention earlier is that not all percentage rates are created equal. Most folks, well, I won't say most. I don't want to assume. There's really two types of loan rates that you can get: fixed and adjustable. Both have their benefits, both have their drawbacks. Okay, looking at fixed rates means exactly that. It means that it is not going to change through the term of the loan. But sometimes fixed rates start out a little bit higher than adjustable ones do, which is kind of what drives people towards adjustable ones, because the adjustable rates usually start out lower. And then they tell you, like, oh yeah, so it might go up every 2 years. When they tell you that, it goes up every 2 years. All right? It might, pretty much. Ours has, every so often. But sometimes it may not. It may stay the same. It usually goes up. They like to tell you sometimes it'll go down. Don't get your hopes up. They're not going to give you a discount on your house. All right? It's never happened to us. If it's happened to somebody else, bravo, you've done well. But it's never happened to us. Because, we'll get an email or a letter in the mail that says, oh, your interest, your escrow, your mortgage is due for a reeval. And I'll call them. I'll be like, so this means it's going to go up, right? And they're like, well, it just means that we're going to take a look at this rate compared to the federal rates and blah, 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 blah. And, it might stay the same. I was like, it's going to go up. It always goes up. Don't lie to me. Or, don't put it, in other words, don't put a bag over my head, beat me with a stick, and tell me everything's fine. All right. So that is how much you pay over the course of the loan. Now, subtract $155,000. Bless you. And bless me. That gave me a little bit of heart attack. That kind of scared me a little bit. That was a good one, Jackie. So what's the difference here when you subtract the principal from it? 127,729.60. Okay. So what happened with this one compared to example 2? A little bit, right? It increased a little bit, but your payment also went down, right? And the main thing is your interest rate went down. 6.5, yeah. The interest rate on the first one was 6.5 at 30. The second one, it was 6.5 at 20. That one, we saw that the payment was higher, but the interest went down. And then with this one, the payment got even lower than the first one. Compared to the first one, the interest went down substantially. So it really just depends on what do you want to do, right? Do you want to have a really, really low payment? Well, if it's a really, really low payment that you want max years, minimum interest. If you want to be done with it and not give the lender your money, you know, if you're one of those, you know, government won't get my money type of people. We all know those people. Don't act like we don't. We pass them on the road because their trucks are falling apart and leaving parts all over the road. But anyway, if you don't want them to get a lot of interest off you, you want them to get your years down. As a drawback, though, your payment goes up. Unless you can find a lower interest rate, you know, then it won't be too bad. The best mix of both, though, is to try to get your interest rate down, because that affects so much of this, okay? In that even though this was more interest than the 20 years, it's still a heck of a lot less than the 6.5%, isn't it? Yeah. So that's really the best mix of both. Now, we're almost out of time, so I want to show you what your assignment looks like. So go back to the Word document, okay? Now, if I put this in what it would look like if you were to print it off, okay? So, Financial Lab 1, object of this lab to help you see the impact of the same loan amount at different time periods and interest rates and draw conclusions on what you calculate. So in other words, the scenario, your principal is always going to be $100,000, okay? Maybe it's, you know, some little cabin out in the woods or something that you bought. So $100,000, and what you're looking at is how the different years, the different year and percent combinations affect this. Okay, let me put this on full screen so everybody can see it a lot better. So the first table, you're going to put in $100,000, you're going to put in 15 years, you're going to leave those two things alone, and then you're just going to change the percents, okay? For the payments row, you're just going to pop it into the spreadsheet, get that payment out. For the total interest row, you've got to use the total interest formula, okay? I mean, there might be a way to use it on the financial calculator spreadsheet. I can't remember off the top of my head where it is, and I forget where it's at every year, so just use the formula. Then when you go to the next table, you're going to change your years to 20. Do it again with those 4 interest rates. Third table, change your years to 25. Do it again with those 4 interest rates. The fourth table, 30 years. Do it again with those 4 interest rates. Now, for your work entry, this is what you want to use, okay? You're not doing any big, long, drawn-out formulas by hand. What you're doing is I want to see if you know how to use the spreadsheet, okay? So punch these in, write them down. There's your work entry. Now, where the differentiation comes in, and you can see I've got the examples here that we just did from the spring. Where the differentiation comes in is your answer entry, okay? We've not seen an answer entry like this before. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. It's 2 o'clock. Big whoop. We've not seen an answer entry like this yet because there is one question on it, just one question. It is a matching question, okay? And what you are doing is you're taking the information from your sheet that you filled out and picking the correct answer based off of what you got. Now, something I want to caution you against, because I look at that sheet and I fully realize, oh, I can just copy down somebody else's sheet. Well, good for you, okay? But, which I know that would never happen in here, right? All right. Watch what happens when I hit to open this again, okay? So, 20 years 4%, 20 years 6%, 20 years 7%. If I go back and look at this again, it should shuffle it. For some reason it's not, because Moodle's been in a fit today. But whenever you open this, it's going to scramble them. Okay? So like whenever Jackie opens it, her top question is going to be different than Charlie's. All right? So if somebody just, you know, is like, hey, what was number 1? You put that down. Might not have been your number 1. Okay? Now, it tells you at the top, each correct answer is worth 3.125 points. Okay? So, one question, partial credit on each answer will add up to 50. So when you get done with it, check it against your sheet, make sure everything's right. So like your answer choices will look like, that. Payment, semicolon, total interest. Okay? So fill out the sheet, then do this, and then you'll be good. We will look at it again some more on Wednesday. We'll either look at it again some more, or we'll go ahead and start looking ahead to Finance Lab 2. This is a really quick and easy section that we're going to try to get done before our fall break. Any questions? All right. Oh, my calculator's back.